Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. My topic is to talk about the biographies of three individuals that are masters of tajweed. The first one is Ibnul Jazaree. The second one is Imam Shatibee, and the third is Abu Amr Ad-Daanee. But as you know, I don't talk about the topics that I'm given. I don't want to give their biography because we're all going to fall asleep. I want to talk specifically from the perspective of individuals who have done some work in tajweed and qira'at. The most work that was ever done in tajweed and qira'at, I mean, we all know that the Quran was preserved. The first preservation of the Quran took place at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The second preservation of the Quran took place at the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, where they compiled it. And the third preservation took place at the time of Uthman radiallahu anh. But mainly, I mean, all of these different preservations took place, and in the history of Islam we find two major preservations. One was at the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and one was at the time of Uthman radiallahu anh. These were two major preservations of the Quran. And of these two major preservations of the Quran, we realize that the first person to actually have this thought to preserve the Quran was Umar radiallahu anh, and he approached Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. The stories, you can read them. And now you have Abu Bakr radiallahu anh who preserved the Quran. The first task that he actually did was to preserve the Quran during the battle of Yamama with when the Muslims were battling Musaylima. And then after that, then you have the preservation done by Uthman radiallahu anh. However, what's amazing is that Uthman radiallahu anh in the history of Islam is known as the one who preserved the Quran, right or wrong. He is known, historically everyone knows, who preserved the Quran? Uthman radiallahu anh. That's how he's known. But the first person to preserve the Quran was who? Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. Why this? Why is this the case? We find that Uthman radiallahu anh, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh initially preserved the Quran because of the fact that the Muslims were dying. So the battle was between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. So the non-Muslims were taking over the Muslims, and the Huffaz were dying. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, Umar radiallahu anh, Zayd radiallahu anh got together and they said we should preserve the Quran. When Uthman radiallahu anh preserved the Quran, the main reason behind this was to protect the seven ahruf. And I'll talk about the seven ahruf inshallah when I give my long lecture. But Uthman radiallahu anh, when he preserved the Quran, he did something that no one else in the world could do. And number one, he made a few points. No one in the history of Islam took such a drastic step as Uthman radiallahu anh did. What he did was he ordered the people that I'm compiling the Quran over here. Now any copy that anyone else has, you have to burn it. You have to burn it. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anh and other companions, people that were following him, they did not want to do that. They were against it and they were really upset about it. And Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he basically came out and stood up against them. Uthman radiallahu anh was really strong. He didn't care about anything. He said, this is my principle, I'm going to stick with it. He even told Abu Dharr radiallahu anh to leave the city. Right? He told him, you know what, you're a really good person, but you being here is causing more fitna to the Muslims than anyone else. What Uthman radiallahu anh did is he gathered the whole Muslim ummah who are fighting amongst each other. Muslims are calling each other non-Muslims, kafir, you're this, you're that. Muslims are fighting amongst each other, and he gathered them all onto reciting the Quran on the seven ahruf, which we'll talk about. Now, eventually later on, the concept of the preservation of the Quran continued to the Imam of Qira'at, and you have the 10 Qurra, and all of you all know, that's why you're all here, about the 10 Qurra. But moving forward, there's one individual, and we know him as Ibnul Jazaree rahimahullah. He's the famous, the scholar who wrote the book Hisnul Hasin. The book of Du'as, Hisnul Hasin. Ibnul Jazaree rahimahullah, really famous scholar of tajweed and qira'at. And one thing that Ibn Jazaree rahimahullah did, I'm just going to mention one point about every individual. One thing that Ibn Jazaree rahimahullah did is he took the science of qira'at that was spreading in the world within the turuq and within the awjuh. Just for the recitation of Imam Hafs, there's 54 different turuq for it. 54 turuq. So Ibn Jazaree rahimahullah says that there's about 980 different turuq for the 10 ways to recite. 980 different ways to recite the Quran. If you look at all the different turuq, all the different students and their dialects, etc. What Ibn Jazaree rahimahullah did, he took this huge science and he put it all into one book. He took this huge science, put it all into one book, and this science eventually became known as Ashara Kubra. Because now you study the 10 ways to recite. Now you don't only study Hafs from the more natural way, but the way that's normally taught, but you study Hafs from all the different dialects, all the different every single individual that's talked about it, etc., etc. That's Ibn Jazaree rahimahullah. A great individual, was based in Syria, eventually went to Egypt, and a lot of stuff about him. He is known as Hujjatul Qira'at. He is known as the Madar of Qira'at. Madar of Qira'at basically means, it's like this. If you want to get a fatwa, if I want to get a fatwa from someone, I just go to Mufti Sahab. But if we all want to get a specific fatwa from an individual, all have that one person that we all refer to, right or wrong. We all have that one individual that we refer to in the world. Ibn Jazaree rahimahullah, check this out. He's unanimously agreed upon by all of the Qurra from his time until now, until the Day of Judgment possibly. He is unanimously known as that individual who is going to from the time Qira'at was codified until the Day of Judgment. Anytime you have any questions, someone asks me a question, what about this specific rule or this specific idea of Qira'at and Tajweed, the first place I would go look at is what did Ibn al-Jazaree rahimahullah say about it. That's just normal. That's one thing. Another individual is Imam Shatibee rahimahullah. Imam Shatibee rahimahullah, there's two individuals. There's one individual who wrote Al-Maqasid, Imam Shatibee, but this is a different person. Imam Shatibee rahimahullah was blind. He was blind. And what's beautiful about the book Shatibee, the famous book, Bada'tu bi Bismillah fi Nadmi Awwala, Tabaraka Rahmanan Rahiman wa Maw'ila. Ibn al-Jazaree rahimahullah was Arab. Imam Shatibee was Spanish. He's from Spain. And Imam Shatibee rahimahullah, his approach to qira'at, no one is considered a qari of qira'at unless they study their recitation for Imam Shatibee's way. The regular that in the haram. And I blame the haram for not promoting the qira'at at all. They stick with hafs. The way they totally remove the four madhab. They remove the four madhab from haram, didn't they? Now they stick with one way. I blame them for that also. I blame the haram. I blame haram and the ulama over there. I'm not scared to say it. Trust me, I will say it's on YouTube. It's going to go up. I don't care. But I blame all the ulama living in Saudi Arabia right now for removing the qira'at. come on, what's wrong with you guys? But Imam Shatibee rahimahullah, what we have right now, the normal way of reciting the Quran in the world, the way we normally teach, Mad al-Munfasil, Muttasil, etc., everything, when it comes to tafkhim and tarqiq and all of that stuff, it's all from the madhab, or basically the approach of tajweed and qira'at from Imam Shatibee rahimahullah. From Imam Shatibee rahimahullah. He was blind, and one interesting point about his book, for those who have studied the Shatibee book, is how Imam Shatibee rahimahullah refers to examples in his book. Sometimes, basically, if you were to study Shatibee using a dictionary, you would come up with a totally different meaning. And if you were to study Shatibee from knowing the science and from a teacher, you get a totally different meaning. For example, Imam Shatibee says, وَبَسْمَلَ بَيْنَ السُّورَتَيْنِ بِسُنَّةٍ وَبَسْمَلَ بَيْنَ السُّورَتَيْنِ بِسُنَّةٍ. He says, recite Bismillah between two surahs because it is sunnah. Yes? So this is what normally a normal person would understand. وَبَسْمَلَ بَيْنَ السُّورَتَيْنِ بِسُنَّةٍ رِجَالٌ نَمَوْهَا دِرْيَةً وَتَحَمُّلًا. And this has been narrated by Rijal, the great individuals, Namawha, who were great, Diryatan Tahammula, in regards to seeking knowledge. This is what normal person understands. But then if you take Imam Shatibee's book and you study it from a teacher, you'll realize Imam Shatibee is not saying that at all. He doesn't not even worry about that. He's saying, وَبَسْمَلَ بَيْنَ السُّورَتَيْن, recite Bismillah between two surahs, بِسُنَّةٍ, not because it's sunnah, because it's sunnah is fine, but بِسُنَّةٍ, the letter ba in بِسُنَّةٍ refers to Imam Qalun. So what he's saying is recite Bismillah between two surahs, which is the recitation of Imam Qalun, Rijalun, Imam Ra, which is Kisa'i, Diryatan, Ibn Kathir, Namawha, Imam Asim, Watahammula. And the letter Waw is known as Waw al-Fasl. Every time in the book Shatibee you see the letter Waw, every time in the book Shatibee you see the letter Waw, you'll be able to understand that my topic is finished. So if you want to know one topic from another topic, look for the Waw. So you look for the whole thing, you look at Waw here, Waw here. Okay, everything in between is one rule. Another Waw there, everything in between is in one rule. Genius book. And anyone who studied Qira'atul Ashra, we don't consider them as Qurra unless they've studied Shatibiyah. Because we have to make sure that they go through some type of grinding. Like, come on, you don't know. Listen, come on, Qanun. And the last person who, me as an individual, as a researcher, is really, if there was someone in the world that I really wanted to meet, and I would go out of the way to meet this individual, and I would travel the world, is Abu Amr Ad-Daanee. Orientalists have come up with opinions now. Orientalists have come up with opinions now regarding the qira'at, saying the qira'at are wrong, saying there's, na'udhu billah, mistakes in the Mus'haf, saying there's this, and they've come up with opinions now. Abu Amr Ad-Daanee was such a mastermind, again, not from Egypt, from Spain. Such a mastermind that Kitab al-Masahif was written by the son of Abu Dawood, in which he's mentioned a lot of narrations that many of them are really weak as well. But Abu Amr Ad-Daanee's rebuttal to Kitab al-Masahif and Abu Amr Ad-Daanee's wisdom, or what he has talked about, and the pointers that he's brought up, that have basically challenged the Orientalists before the Orientalists have even come, is mind-boggling. You will be able to understand. For example, Orientalists now are going to claim. Orientalists now, they say that there's possible mistakes in the Mus'haf, and Uthman radiallahu anh didn't preserve it properly. Na'udhu billah. Right? Abu Amr Ad-Daanee, let me tell you what era he's in. Abu Amr Ad-Daanee rahimahullah, Ibnul Jazaree rahimahullah is, again, about 500-600 years ago. And then Imam Shatibee is before that, about 4 generations before that. Abu Amr Ad-Daanee is about 5 generations before that. So all the isnad of Qira'atul Ashra are, we find them through Abu Amr Ad-Daanee. Most, they go through Ibnul Jazaree, etc. But for Shatibiyah and for Ashra Sughra, you can find that it's not going through Abu Amr Ad-Daanee. And he basically quotes his chain. I read the whole Quran to this person, who read the whole Quran to this person, who read the whole Quran to this person, who read the whole Quran. You have a proper chain of narration. And Abu Amr Ad-Daanee, can believe it or not, in the book Al-Muqni, I was reading the book Al-Muqni, right near the end, in one of the chapters, he says, فَإِنْ قِيلَ فِي الْمَصَاحِفِ لَحَنْ. He says, if someone were to say that in the Mus'haf there are mistakes, when did he say this? He mentions this way before Imam Shatibee's time. 4 generations, 5 generations before Imam Shatibee's time. And when did the Orientalists bring it up? Just in the recent 100, 200 years ago. You see what a mastermind this individual is. Not only that, Abu Amr Ad-Daanee rahimahullah, tajweed issues that individuals, they argue about now. Whether you leave the lips open, leave the lips closed, whether you make the ikhfa thick, whether you not make the ikhfa, don't make it thick. Abu Amr Ad-Daanee rahimahullah tackled every single one of these issues. Just pick up his books, At-Tahdeed, Al-Muqni'. Such respect that this individual had, Abu Amr Ad-Daanee, that he was a researcher. Anything that he's written, it's full of research. Anything that he's written is full of research. And then when you eventually go down, Imam Shatibee rahimahullah, his poem, Hirzul Amani, the famous poem that I talked about, is a summary of Abu Amr Ad-Daanee's book, At-Taysir. Imam Shatibee wrote a book, Aqila, a summary of Abu Amr Ad-Daanee's book. Imam Shatibee, most of the books that Imam Shatibee wrote, out of respect for Abu Amr Ad-Daanee, they were all just a summary of Abu Amr Ad-Daanee's books. Abu Amr Ad-Daanee, an individual that's, you cannot find such a person when it comes to tajweed and qira'at. Ibnul Jazaree rahimahullah talked about him, he used his books, even though he's madar of tajweed, the basis of tajweed. Imam Shatibee referred to this individual. And the researchers, if someone wants to do proper research in tajweed and qira'at, you will only find that Abu Amr Ad-Daanee has talked about these points already. So it's the amazing pointers regarding these three individuals. Remember these names: Ibnul Jazaree, Imam Shatibee, and Abu Amr Ad-Daanee rahimahullah. And eventually, I plan to basically bring in Abu Amr Ad-Daanee's book as part of the curriculum for Jazaree, anyways. So it'll be really interesting because I mean, as an individual, I want to bring in the critical thinking towards tajweed and qira'at, and you don't find such a critic of tajweed and qira'at like Abu Amr Ad-Daanee, who's basically laid the foundation out for everyone. The whole basis of tajweed is based on him. I guess everything besides the makharij issue, right? Because Imam Shatibee and Abu Amr Ad-Daanee, they believe in 16 makharij, right? As do I. And they also believe that idlaq and ismat are not sifatul huruf. They're basically, they don't even mention those. So it's anyways really interesting points. Jazakumullah khair. There'll be a topic regarding what certain Orientalists say and stuff like that. Not too much detail, but it'll be really interesting. And I can only ask if you guys can stay behind. Jazakumullah.